At the heart of every monumental leap, there lies a foundational element that made it all possible. Think atoms making planets, shaping up the solar system, people building megastructures that shape the world. Think of organizations that came together to ignite the technology which had us all glued to our smartphones. But what made it all happen? It's coming together. It's collaboration. And now, it is our time to come together and bring about the drone autonomy revolution. FlytBase is an effort to provide this collaborative base for the drone community to unite and propel towards the autonomous future. A software platform designed for building custom enterprise solutions, catering to various verticals like public safety, inspection, security, mapping, and more. Let's come together to shape the future of drone autonomy. At the heart of every monumental leap, there lies a
Hello everyone. I'm thrilled to welcome you all to another exciting episode of the Dock and Roll series. I'm Aniket, your host for today. This episode is dedicated to exploring how drone docks can revolutionize data collection, making it more frequent and efficient. We are delving into the challenges of autonomous drone operations, key considerations for setting up a drone command center, and most importantly, we'll have a live demonstration of a standard workflow for mapping with the FlightBase platform. To help us navigate these topics, we have two distinguished guests with us today. First, we have Benjamin Kim, the technical director at Europe. Benjamin is focused on integrating fully automated drone dock solutions for surveying, inspection, and security applications. He studied aerospace engineering at RWTH Aachen and has been working on machine learning based reconfiguration of hybrid systems as a PhD at Bundeswehr University in Munich. We also have Achal, the Director of Business Development at FlightBase, also my co-host for this webinar. Achal will be giving us a deep dive into the FlightBase platform and how it could be leveraged for deploying docks for several industries, focusing more on survey and mapping use cases. Welcome, Benjamin and Achal. Before we dive in, a
Thank you,
couple of
Aniket.
quick notes. Before we dive in, a couple of quick notes. Please feel free to drop your questions for Benjamin and Achal in the chat box. We'll address them towards the end of this session. This session is being recorded and will be published soon. So let's get started. Over to you, Benjamin.
Yeah, thank you very much, Aniket, for this nice introduction. I'm excited to talk about today about drone command center integration and about actually the future of drones, what I believe is what we're talking about. So who am I? Who are we? You introduced me already, so I'm introducing the company I work for. Europe, you might have seen some videos. We are one of the largest companies when it comes to automated solutions in Germany. We've been founded 2015, but have experience over 20 years now in the drone market. So starting really with building our own drones, and eventually now we are focusing on the dock market. But of course, we have also a lot of standard products like the whole DJI fleet and so on. We are about 16 employees, headquartered in Bielefeld. That's where I'm sitting right now. And we recently set up this dock or drone command center, which we would like to talk about more. And out of Bielefeld here, we are supervising flights for our clients. So the client really just sees the data in the end. In addition to that, we also are a large training provider. We have STS, A2, so open category, specific category trainings and exams and so on. I think that gives you an overview what we do. The key activities are drone training, as I said, and we also do permissions. So when it comes to dock, I think it's a nice, it's a nice package. You always need permissions. You are flying beyond visual line of sight. Otherwise, a docked drone doesn't make any sense. So anyways, we handle the whole process. Basically, one face to the customer. That's the idea. For our clients, we just selected a few, and what we see from the market currently evolving is really the infrastructure and construction market are the first movers in this field of docked operations. They just need actual, up-to-date information, which I'm going to talk about later more. And it's just the perfect use case for this webinar to show how do we actually do such a mapping workflow together with FlytBase. Okay, next slide, please. So everyone knows the new kid in town is the Dock 2. I don't need to talk too much about it. It's an awesome system. We don't have, at least what I've seen, and I've seen quite a number of docking stations of drones, we don't have a hardware that compares to the Dock 2 at the moment when it comes to reliability, when it comes to compactness and size. So a big shout out to the guys at DJI. You really produced a nice product, which we can now build a whole economy on, I hope, and whatever will come in the future. So as you can see, yeah, thank you, that's fine. We've taken the dock everywhere, really, to all our potential clients and of course the clients itself, and showed it to them, and the feedback is great. But flying a drone, even if it's a dock drone, is not a new thing. It's not what brings the customer success. So what you want to do, and that's why I put the slide here, is to really solve customer issues. I think that's the main part which we all are striving to solve. So this is a wish list for a digitalized construction site. When we talk to our clients, they say, well, we need up-to-date progress reports. We need to know, how far, for example, here in the background, you see it's a large road that is being built, and we place the dock there. They want to know how far actually today the construction site is. They would like to have, they have BIM, so building information modeling systems, which they can then compare the the state, how it is currently, and where they want to be, or how it should be built, and then they can really quickly see any discrepancy which comes up and actually react with countermeasures. So quality control via BIM is a big thing. Also, when it comes, for example, to subcontractors who would like to, many times maybe things are not so clear, and they deliver 5 loads of material, but it's maybe less or more or whatever, So just to have a quality control there is very important. I don't need to go through all these things, but you can see that they have a large wish list, and with a digitalized construction site in the form of a 3D model, you can solve a lot of these issues actually. Okay, next slide. So it's nice, you have the hardware, you have the problem, and you want to provide a solution. But we have seen that there's common hurdles to drone operations, especially when it comes to automated drone operations. One big aspect is the regulatory aspect. For example, you have ground risks, you have people walking on the ground, which you need to protect. You have, of course, you're flying BVLOS, so you need to make sure even the air risk is taken care of. So you want to have air traffic monitoring and all these things in place, and then provide all the details to the respective to the respective governmental functions in order that they would give you the permission. Then you need to train your employees actually to get everything working well, to know the operations, and all these things are piling up. And many of our customers have expressed the interest of just data as a service. They don't want to fiddle around with a drone. They like drones, but they don't like to fly them daily. And so then basically there's this idea, which is of course not new, but I think with the Doc 2 and with software services such as FlytBase, you can really package a nice deal, and it's really seamless. So basically, we want to solve these hurdles by having a drone command center where we just fly the drones and the customer gets the data in time, and everything is nice and everyone is happy. That's the idea, and that's what we're doing currently. We're setting up or have set up and have a number of clients already on this. Actually, right now it's actually flying. In my background, you just see a virtual screen, but the colleagues are flying the drones. So we have this drone command center. And later, after my colleagues at FlytBase will share a little bit more about FlytBase itself, we will show you a live demo. And I think that might be interesting. So we can go to the next slide if there is any. Yeah, okay, just a rough overview. This is a picture recently taken from our drone command center. So we're actually using it. It's not always 3 people working there, I think that's clear, but at least one person is there supervising. And of course, you need flight management. And for that, FlytBase is well. There's different options, of course. Today, we will showcase FlytBase. Then you need air traffic information. I'm not so sure, but I think via a Flink, this will soon also be integrated, or at least the possibility of including air traffic information in the maps will be provided by FlytBase. We can also use web-based methods here or other options. And then there's a bunch of compliance, of course, in order to fly BVLOS. You have checklists just in the specific category. It's not just simply flying. You need to go through a lot of procedures in order to make sure that your flights are actually safe and you don't encounter an emergency helicopter coming in from the side and you risk crashing it. So this is just a really high overview what you need, and I think with that I would like to hand it over to Ashal. Yeah, we can skip these points. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ben. Thanks for sharing that. Hi, everybody. This is Achal. Ben, you really share the key pointers in terms of the operations and the key elements which are there and required for these kind of operations. So let me take it one step further. Before we go to the live demo, that would be at the end of the session, like you said. Let's talk about what are the things that the customer needs to consider for setting up a remote command center. So we'll go deeper, and Aniket, if you can help me share the screen. I'll just quickly share my screen if you can make me the presenter.
Yes, Achal, just a minute. Achal, I guess you can share your screen now.
Thank you. I'll just go ahead and take over the presentation. Great. So, yeah, everybody's talking about ROC, Remote Command Center, but how do we set up? Before we go there, we need to understand that there are several components of an autonomous drone operation. It's not just about drones and docking station. You need to figure out your payloads, your software for flight operations. You need to figure out how you're going to process the data, because this thing could be 200 miles away from your remote command center. No longer are the days where you take out the SD card and come back and process the data again, right? So you would have to understand how you're going to deploy these systems at scale, and you would need various elements that need to come together, be it like detect and avoid systems for BVLOS, weather reporting, ADSB, UTM, alarms. All of these things need to come together. And that is where FlytBase provides that glue or a platform on which you can bring the right components and complete that puzzle that you're solving for a particular use case. Now, this could be construction, security, DFR, mining, railway, and so on. Today, we are primarily focusing on survey and mapping use case, and we'll be diving deep into that. So let's look at this diagram from the perspective of survey and mapping, right? You'll be using a Dock 2 and an M3D drone, which has a great camera for survey and mapping, right? You may not need additional payload, but suppose if you're flying in certain areas, you may need a parachute on board, which is compliant to the EU regulations or depending upon where you are in the world. Now, FlightBase provides all the integrations with these drones and docks as well as payloads. It also provides integrations with third-party hardware for detect and avoid. Like we have partners like Senhive or ADSB, UV Onyx from USA, and so on, who provide the airspace awareness. All that hardware could be integrated with our hardware agnostic layer. On top of that, FlightBase provides the entire flight automation, fleet management, flight safety, and not to forget data security. Now, this thing would take care of your flight autonomy piece, but what would you do with that data? How do you connect with third-party application? And that is where the core platform can be turned into a survey mapping platform because it provides integration with survey and mapping software, be it like Drone Deploy, Pix4D, Strayos, Skycraft, or any other software that you could be using today. FlightBase has Flinks, which allows you to integrate with that third-party software so you can build end-to-end workflows. So let's take a look at a typical command center, right? And Ben already shared some photos, but this is again a mock-up or a demonstration of how things look like in a typical command center. You're of course looking at air traffic data, so where you're flying. You need to look at weather data. Then you of course have your mission planning, admin, and ops view, and the entire fleet view along with the data processing view. So you could set up multiple screen, and FlightBase allows you to integrate with third-party software using Flinks, so you can communicate seamlessly not just with the hardware but also with the entire software suite that you would be using. And when you look at certain deployments across the globe, you can see how they have set up that their ROC, right? You'll see the similar screen set up all across the globe, and all of this is being powered by FlightBase and its partners, where we have integrations with these kind of software platforms. So you can look at that, how they have set up things for security, survey mapping, inspection, and so on. So how can we use DJI Dock 2 with FlightBase for mapping, and what are those key features and elements which could be used? So let's look at a construction use case, one of the most popular one where people use survey and mapping. And typically when you're deploying these automated drones for a construction customer on a construction site, you would get asked for the project requirements like, hey, I have multiple construction sites, I want to manage all of that. How do I manage these multiple sites? Or my site is so huge that it is actually a multi-site kind of a deployment. I need a digital twin or a 3D model to do work progress monitoring. And now since I have a dock on the site, I want 8 a.m., 12 p.m., 5 p.m. report because, hey, I have access to a robot on my site. Can I just fly that on demand? Yes, of course you can. And then of course, I would like to process the data with the software of my choice. In this case, for example, take Drone Deploy. Now it could be Pix4D, it could be other software like ArcGIS or whatever you use, but let's take Drone Deploy for an example. Now, if the customer comes up with this kind of requirement, how do you configure a solution? And there could be certain other things as well, right? What's the BVLOS, what's the data security, IT compliance, network, all of that, of course, is there when you deploy a docking station. So how do you integrate such a solution? And let's take a deeper look into this use case. So number one is, of course, you have deployed the dock, you have the drone, you have the connectivity, you have done all the compliance and everything. Let's get started with the data collection workflows, because data collection is growing 10x with these docking stations, right? You want to fly the robot, the aerial robot, every time for whatever use case you have on your site. And FlightBase helps you with salient features like site management. So number one thing is you can create multiple sites, assign docs and people to those particular sites, so you know which team is working on what, as well as you can share the resources, be it like people, docs on different sites, and have a proper management. You can set the location, you can assign people, you can assign the devices, assign members through the site management dashboard. And then of course, when you configure other things like no fly zones and so on, depending upon the nature of site, all of those things could be attached to site. This is very important as you do a multi-site operation with FlightBase, as well as for a construction use case. It's quite popular because this is how construction sites are laid off, and then you are able to manage those sites using FlightBase. Second is map overlay. So of course, FlytBase allows you to create your own 2D maps and overlay that. So as your construction site is moving, like making progress on week by week basis, you can always update that and put it on the base map, right? So FlytBase allows you to create this. You can see that the base map here was something else, but now we have a much clear view of this site on the dashboard, and you can mark things, you can understand things, where are the objects, if there is a crane or if there is a big machinery or some areas which you cannot fly, or the areas that you want to cover, all of that could be done where you can have this 2D map overlay for survey and mapping. Then one of the important things that we have also built is mission tags, and this was requested by multiple users over the years. As they start doing survey and mapping kind of missions, that dashboard looks so cluttered. There are so many missions, like operators get confused. Now this is where we have created a mission tagging facility where you can have this feature and tag each missions with different categories. Now if you're doing something linear missions or a mapping mission or a crosshatch, you can label them and then you can bifurcate them depending upon how you are doing those missions or operations. So really helps your team use the right missions, because hey, today we are just talking about construction mapping, but maybe there is another department on the construction site who wants security and they would have their own missions. So mission tagging allows you to segregate all your missions and is a very seamless way of managing your missions as you're planning that, as well as organizing them through these different tags. Then of course comes the mission planning. So you get all the features that are required. You can of course do grid mission planning. You can have all the functionalities. You can also import a WPML. You can have a KMZ import. All of those things are of course available. In case you already have complex missions available in your current software, which would take ages for you to kind of import, we have simple APIs available to do those kind of imports there. So it becomes easy for you to migrate with your current software and bring those missions which you would be doing with your non-docked drones like Mavic 3 Enterprise. All of those things could be now imported with the APIs to the FlytBase platform. Then of course grid mission settings provide you all the things where you want to use a wide camera. If you are doing some things with IR, you can choose that. You have the GSD determination, and all those things are available inside FlytBase, which is now have become pretty common in these kind of software. So those things are covered. We have made it particularly very intuitive, so you can just do these missions with minimal inputs, and FlytBase takes care of it. Then of course you have overlap. You can select the overlap, how you want to have the grid angle and image overlap depending upon the mission that you're doing, the kind of map that you're creating for that kind of site. So FlytBase allows you to have overlap settings. You have payload selections available, so you can select the right payload while flying, where you're using a zoom camera or wide camera or something else. Of course, people use different kind of drones and docks as well with FlytBase, so we have all those functionalities available through the dashboard to configure the payload. Now, once the mission is done, you have the entire gallery view, where we have a very sophisticated file view and a folder view available. And we have a lot of advanced filters available. So you can match two sites really quickly with the settings. And you can see how the site was looking on say 15th of July and how it is looking on 10th of July. So you can see that immediately through the filters and get all the data through the dashboard. And then you can of course have these kind of folders created where you have all the images and mission captured with all the flight IDs, the name convention, the size and the images it carries, and you can manage these folders. So your file management with this automated missions that you're doing is very sorted. And we had to do this because as we were seeing operations happening with the docks, it was increasingly kind of getting more and more data, where you ideally would do say one mission a day or cover the site once, maybe because you have to send a pilot and that person has to fly. But now as we started seeing dogs on these field, people are just flying every day, and now you need a better management of the data. So these are some minute things but are very important and has been designed specifically keeping the user in mind and how they can leverage FlytBase and manage this large amount of data using FlytBase. Now, of course, we have collected the data. What do we do now, right? There are, of course, plenty of softwares who are helping you collect the data, right? You of course have DJI Flight Hub 2 also is doing it, but then you could be using some other software and you have your own data processing pipelines, because you could be doing survey mapping already, right, with the drones. Now this is where the integrations or the flinks come into the picture. So flinks is short for FlytBase links, which are the connectors which allows you to have one-click integration with third-party software. So you can seamlessly integrate with software of your choice. And specifically, we have data processing flinks, which allow you to send the missions as well as execute the missions and upload the flight data, flight media data to a specific software. So FlightBase would take care of your flight safety, reliability, mission planning and execution, dog drone operations, BVLOS compliance, IT compliance, data security compliance. And then you can choose the right software that you want to use. And you can see different kind of softwares already listed which leverage data processing flinks in FlightBase, where you can create your terrain or 3D models, orthomosaic, digital twins, or whatever the software you're using. You can leverage that data without, of course, going on that site. And this is all seamlessly connected through the APIs, which we call flinks. So let's take a quick look at integration with drone deploy. So in the previous gallery view, we saw that we only had images, but now if I come to flight log, I have a quick shortcut to send the data to drone deploy. And this could be Pix4D, it could be other software that you could be using. It could be integrated with that. And as soon as you do that, that data is automatically transferred to drone deploy, and that processing pipeline could get started to create your map. So you can use your existing accounts that you have with your software of choice, and using Flinks, we can integrate with your third-party software and send that folder, that data directly to the software of your choice. So with that, I would like to pass it back to Ben. And Ben, why don't you share the screen and we can take a look at a quick flight.
Sure. Yeah, this was a nice walkthrough. I'm basically now doing the same. No, but in a sense, we're now going instead of showing the process on photos, we're just going to fly, and I'm just going to go here to the fleet. Maybe first I can show the missions. You see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, seems like this is good. So this is Europe headquarters. You've seen it in what Achal has presented already. I'm sitting here now, so I'm really close to the dock. It's not really that interesting of a use case, but this is what we have here. And of course, you can imagine this can be a much larger site. Actually, our BVLOS corridor is all around here, but today we're just doing a small mapping mission for our headquarters. So it's really easy to set up the mission. We've done this yeah, in preparation for this talk, because we don't want to have you wait for 2 hours in order to process the 3D model, or 1 hour. I don't know how long it took. So here I can show you now basically the flight, and then I show you the finished product. So we go to fleet, and then you see showing up here our nice yard with our green chairs, and this is the dock. And now we just basically go to mission here. We can select the mission we want to fly, and then it centers on the dock we want to fly. We can go on launch, and right now there's a colleague basically checking the airspace. So what you see right now is just the live view and the drone operations. Yeah. Okay, and then here you have a nice checklist. I like this very much. You just go through all these checks, and yeah, you make sure that your operations are safe and according or compliant to your BVLOS permission. I have checked this before because I just launched the drone and before this call, and yeah, we are safe. I don't go through all these things, but it's just a really nice overview before you actually launch a mission. Now we go and execute. The dock will start. Well, the mission will be transferred. The dock will start the drone itself, and then in about a minute we will be airborne. While we're waiting, maybe I can show you the other parts. Maybe we go to the gallery. As I told you already, we have flown this mission. This was actually just half an hour ago, and some more, basically just the same one here with some thermal images. Yeah, but we didn't run into any issues here, so really easy to set up. And now the drone has, well, the dock has opened. Sorry for skipping that. And we can go into the cockpit view, and then we see, yeah, the actual footage of the drone. And we're waiting for some more GPS satellites. We are really in a congested space here. You know, inside, you see it once we launch, so it takes a while sometimes to acquire all the signals. So yeah, this is the cockpit view. You can jump into the zoom lens. I don't know if it does it. Yeah, when it's on the pad still. And of course, also into the thermal lens. The thermal version of the dock drone, so Matrice 3 TD, is not the optimal solution for mapping. I think that's clear, but this is an all-rounder. Regardless of that, the 3D model still looks pretty nice. This is just to showcase everything. Okay, I hope the stream is kind of stable for you guys. And here we're launching. You can see we have a beautiful weather here in Germany, slightly clouded, really green everything. And now the drone is basically going, and I can maybe jump back to the map. You can see the drone is flying to the starting point up here, and you can see the live feed up here. And so now, once it has reached that destination, we will see it pitching down, and then just taking the pictures. I think drone operations by now are not spectacular anymore. So we take, with a certain overlap, we take the pictures, and after the drone lands, we can see them, yeah, in our storage appearing there. Yeah. So we now switch to the wide angle view, and down here you have all the important information: your compass, the flight altitude, drone heading, distance to home, and so on, everything you want to know. Of course, you can pause or return to home. You can switch to manual. Yeah, we have a little bit of a delay in the live feed. I think you might also see that. Yeah, now it's stable again. Yeah, or you can also do a click and fly on the map, right? That's also something you want to do. Now for mapping, usually you just watch it, and you have your your air traffic map open and see if there's any conflict arising. Maybe I can quickly, while the drone is flying, quickly show you one solution. So this is now our station, or where we are located. And here you can see, if I zoom out, you can see a number of airplanes actually flying around, and I've filtered already to an altitude below 3,000 feet. And so if an airplane would approach our location, we should notice it within 10 kilometers, and then within 5 kilometers, there's actually an alarming threshold. And so this way you can make sure that at least you can see other traffic, air traffic, and you can avoid it. Now let's go back and see where the drone is. I think we should be almost complete with the mission. So as you can see, it's nice. You see kind of a progress where the drone has already been, and where it still should do the mapping. Now we are over the forest. You can see it quite well here. And we're just taking the pictures. As you can see, the facades or the sides of the buildings are not really well, we don't really take pictures of that. So now we're just doing ortho mapping from, from above with a ground sampling distance of about 2 centimeters. So not not the very precise flight, because we just want an overview. Let's say we want an overview here. Of course, you can fly lower and have a much better ground sampling distance if you want. But then your data will also grow. Just depends what you need. Okay. Now we're flying back, and the drone now will land in the dock. It's always to me a fascinating moment when the drone actually comes down and lands, because the dock opens like a flower, and unfortunately, because of streaming issues, we don't really see all the details. Let's see if it's my internet here. Yeah, I'm gonna reload, and then you can basically jump directly to the operations, and you can see the drone should land now. So we
Yes,
basically
it's perfect
land.
timing. Great.
Almost
Yeah.
got it.
Right.
It's probably because I share my screen. But yeah, so now the dock closes and uploads the data, and let's have a look there quickly. So I've showed you already the gallery. Yeah, and here we see, of course, all the metadata in the photo. We can download it, we can zoom in it, and so on. Nothing too fancy, but what I did know, what I learned actually today, is that you can filter by date and flight type and so on. So the filtering mechanisms, like Achal said, when you have large amounts of data, it's very handy. It comes in handy. If you can pull out data from, let's say, three months ago, oh, how did this part of the construction site actually look like? And so that's quite handy. And you can go to the folders view and then just jump into different folders directly. Okay, now let's go to a flight. Which one should we take? Okay, let me quickly go back to, so now it's basically uploading. But if we wanted to, yeah, basically, yeah, I don't need to sync all of them now because I've already done it. So we jump ahead, but you've seen it. You can basically sync a whole folder, a whole flight with, in this case, drone deploy. That's one of the flinks, and then all the data will be shared, and we can now jump directly to the drone deploy model, and I've opened it here already. So you can see I've done two mappings here. One is in RGB, which I'm going to show now. So this was, I guess, yesterday, and it's just 56 photos. So it's really a small mapping mission. The one we just flew, it's exactly the same, and you can see already here. Of course, there's some some areas where we don't have coverage, or full coverage at least, but that's clear because we just did the photos from above, and we haven't really done the side mappings. Of course, now here in this 3D model, I can export it, I can import it into different solutions for BIM, for building information modeling, and so on. And one thing I like about this one is also that you can do, so here we're in the 3D model. Of course, you can go into the 2D model. Maybe let's do that. And it's just overlaying it on the map. And now if you want to actually have you need to go into the 3D. You can actually go to certain, you can basically inspect certain parts of the model by just clicking on the respective area, and you can view the original photo and the 3D model basically laid behind it. So anyways, I guess I should stop here because it's not really part of the webinar, but you can see with a 3D model then it basically takes you wherever you want to go. And so with that, I hope you have at least seen a little bit about what a drone command center looks like, how you can fly a drone and be compliant, and how then you can basically process the data and use it later for whatever purposes you need. And this is, of course, just one aspect. You can do inspection, you can do a lot in security and so on. But this is at least our demo here. Okay, and I give it back to whomever. I don't know who's
Yes.
who's on
Yeah, we'll
now.
take it back here. Thank you so much, Ben. Great demo there and great flight. And the kind of images it captures and the way it creates the 3D model, that is now very, very easy and seamless, because otherwise somebody had to go there and fly. So really great to see that demonstration. I hope that helped audience understand a bit more about how this could be leveraged. I just have 3 more slides there, and before we move to a Q&A. So we just covered the construction use case. So Aniket, could you share the screen again, or if you can let me share it? Yeah,
Yes.
thank you. So yeah, we saw the entire demo. Now, of course, there are several other mapping use cases where you could use it in a rail yard inspection, or a solar or a mining. We covered a mining use case a couple of weeks back with one of our partner, and we'll be covering other use cases as well in the future webinars and going deep. Today, we covered construction and took construction as a centerpiece and showed you how you can use different components of FlytBase to create construction workflows, do the entire mapping and survey. So with that, I would just like to have a couple of closing things. One is you can get started with all of that with FlytBase Zero at $0. So if you are looking to use a dog, already have a dog, or you need help, you can contact Europe, our partners, and contact us. We both be able to work together with you and help you get started. It's all free to get started with FlytBase and get all that experience with your dog too. And if you want to learn more like this, we have a dedicated FlytBase Academy available. You can go to academy.flytbase.com, and we have dedicated courses like this available online, which you can watch, you can learn more. And there are specific courses available if you are a customer. So you can contact us, or Europe if you're already having a dog, or you're looking to buy a dog for your operations. We have dedicated academy available, so you can learn all of this at this manner, as well as get all the certifications through FlytBase Academy. So with that, I would just open it up for Q&A. So let me just pull up the Q&A slide. Okay, we also have the details in case you want to email us, but let's take up some questions for Ben, and I'll be able to answer some of those as well.
Sure. So, first of all, thank you so much, Ben. Thank you so much, Achal, for giving the brief description about how we can do mapping missions with the help of FlightBase platform and DJI Dock 2, and how Dock 2 has actually changed the scenario of the entire market when it comes to mapping and inspection, these types of missions. So, with the help of FlightBase platform and integration with Drone Deploy and Pix4D, all of this has become quite seamless right now. So, we have a few questions with this. So one of the questions is, I saw that FlightBase has a $0 plan. Does it support all the mapping related features? Furthermore, can I connect with Pix4D? Can I connect Pix4D with FlightBase? So I
Yes,
think Achal, you would like to take that
sure.
question up?
Sure, let me take that up. So Zero does not include any flinks by default. It only includes you to automate your data collection workflows. If you're looking to use data processing, you can have add-ons on Zero and just have a flink for Pix4D if you're using a Pix4D there. So you can use Zero with a Pix4D flink. You'd have to just purchase a Pix4D flink and get started with the operations.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Achal. So the next question that we have is, what all parameters are required for a seamless mapping when it comes to having a grid mission? So Ben, would you like to take that question up?
Sure. First, you would probably try to differentiate between. Well, you need to specify what you want. You could do standard mapping from the top. Then the typical parameters. It's called an ortho mapping. So really, you just have the camera face down, straight down. Then you would have a side overlap and a front or lateral overlap in that sense. And then, of course, the flight height will have a big impact on your ground simpling distance. Your flying speed when you fly in low light, of course, if the drone doesn't stop and you just, you do a standard mapping mission, you might expect some blurring because of longer exposure time. So you just need to make sure that you fly in a well-lighted day. And yeah, I mean, and then from there on, depends really what you want. If you are keen, or you want to also map the facades of a building, let's say for a thermal analysis, then of course you need to specify a few more parameters, but maybe that takes it too far. So for the standard mapping, it's quite simple. And all the softwares, for example, FlytBase, offer the basic parameter set, and most of the time also more extended set for grid missions and so on. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your answer, Ben. So coming to the next question, we have one question, that is 3D maps supported with FlightBase?
Yes.
So
I think, well, sorry, you can go. I think it will be rolled out soon. That's
yes,
was
yes,
my
it
information.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, it is coming out today. So that would be available in FlightBase from today.
Thank you so much for
So
that
this is
information. Yes,
this
Ben.
is the release for the 3D model today, huh? Okay. I'll
Yes,
check it out later, and I'll tell you if it's not available.
yes, yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So the next question that we have is, along with Pix4D and Drone Deploy, what all softwares are there as a part of the Flinks library at FlightBase?
Right. So far we are focused on these two. These are two popular ones, but of course we understand there are a lot of other softwares people use, and that is where we have data processing Flink. As we see more and more adoption of Dog 2, we'll be bringing one-click integration. But if you have, say, something like SiteScan or ArcGIS or any software from the GIS industry, we have made it very seamless and standardized the thing with the data processing Flink. So just contact us or contact you, Rob, and we'd be happy to help you with all the documentation of how it could be integrated, and we can help you with that seamless workflow.
Thank you for that information, Achal. And now the last question that we have is Drone Deploy? So when it comes to a solar mission, is Drone Deploy better than Pix4D, or is it the other way around?
I can't answer that. I don't know. Maybe Ben, you have any experience?
I don't want to answer that. I think, I mean, it really depends what you want.
Yes.
It's two different continents,
Right.
products from different continents. I
Right.
think
Yeah.
just check the specs if it works for you, and it's good to have options. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So both
Right.
of the platforms have their own pros and cons, and they both have their own ways where they exceed over each other. So that's perfect. So with FlightBase, we support both of them, and you're free to choose the platform that you want to use. Perfect. So that was all. These were the questions that we had from our guests. So any else questions, that any other questions that we have, you can feel free to reach out to us via the email IDs. You can I will we'll be uploading the recording of this webinar soon. So thank you so much, everybody. Is there anything that you would like to add, Ben and Achal?
No, thank you for having me. I realize there are a few more questions in the Q&A tab, but I don't know if we have time to cover those. Probably not.
We have,
So just
yeah,
we have
okay.
time.
Yeah. We have some time in case you want to quickly cover that.
Sure.
We still
So
have a few
if that's
minutes
okay,
left.
Aniket, there's one
Yes,
more question
sure,
I maybe
sure.
can address. What kind of connectivity is needed for doing this kind of survey? Um, Maybe on that part, the Doc2, at least, we will start the LTE or yeah, basically LTE connection. And so you could either connect the dock directly, um, to the Ethernet, the dock itself, and then have direct transmission, or have a LTE stick in the drone for basically, well, you use the mobile net in order to transfer the data. So there's a different kinds of possibilities, especially if you go really far out, maybe for perimeter protection. There's the possibility to not directly transmit the data to the dock, because that might have some issues behind buildings and so on. Yeah, so maybe I think that was a good question, but the rest I think is fine. Yeah.
Thank you
Great.
so much for addressing that, Ben.
Okay, sounds good. So Ben, I would like to thank you for your time. You helped us with all the preparation and of course the demo flight. So I know the team has been up together for last few days to put this up. So thank you for your time and effort there and sharing all the insights and the beautiful demo today. So we look forward to working together as well as if any attendees have any questions or if you are already looking to deploy this on your construction site, you can contact FlightBase, you can contact Europe, and we'd be happy to help you get started with automated drone operations.
Thank you so much, Ashal and Aniket, and then yeah, great webinar.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thank you everybody for joining. You have a great day there. Bye bye.
Yes. Bye bye.
Bye.